I'm Gill Blanchard and I'm going to talk to you today about tracing a house history. The house historian needs to be a genealogist, a local historian and a social historian. It very much needs a holistic approach. That involves looking at documents and other related sources, investigating the local history and geography of an area, and researching more than one person or a family of the people that owned or occupied properties. You may also need to develop additional research skills or bring in experts that know about such aspects, that in particular to do with architectural history, learning how to read a building, finding out about how timber, bricks, tiles and so on changed over time and how they can be used to help date a building. In terms of the research into the house itself, here is an overview of the main resources. What I want to stress throughout this talk is that most of the records you need to use are held in local county record offices as local archives. There are some at the National Archives, and there are an increasing number of records becoming available online. And I'm just going to very briefly go over the list here that's on the slide, and then I'm going to come back to looking at some of the main sources in a little bit more detail throughout the rest of this talk. So we can use things like births, marriages and deaths to help us investigate the owners and occupiers, and also using census returns and the 1939 register. I've also put on this list Chancery and other court records. Now, I'm not going to particularly look at these during this talk because they're deserving of a talk in and of themselves. But I would always encourage you to look at the Discovery Catalogue on the National Archives to see if there are any Chancery records and to investigate the potential of legal disputes, because many legal disputes were around inheritance or the ownership or tenancy of lands and properties. And I have used such records to help break through brick walls. And in one case with a house in Essex, it helped me go back 200 years because there were disputes over people not paying rents. And that included the house I was investigating. Other sources are deeds, the land registry, listed buildings register and local surveys. These include archaeological surveys, which, although the word archaeological might make you think they're only focusing on the ancient history, they often include reference to local buildings of historical interest of whatever age, and they are invaluable. These can generally, listed buildings register and local surveys can increasingly be found online, but also in local reference libraries. Another major source are the electoral registers dating from 1832 up to the present day, and poll books which list who people could vote for from 1698 to 1872 when the Secret Ballot Act came in. We're also going to have a look later in the talk at some enclosure records and the Inland Revenue Survey of 1910 to 1920. Other major sources are insurance and legal records. There is one major land survey which covers the period 1873 to 1876, depending where you are in the UK. I would also recommend looking at local histories and trying to find out if any oral histories have been collected for the area. These can give you invaluable insights into the local area and local people that you might not find anywhere else. Another major source, which I'll be coming back to at the end of the talk, are manorial records and also, of course, maps and plans. You really cannot do a house history without using maps. I also encourage you to go and investigate local museums and living history displays and reenactments to get a really good understanding of how people lived, the interior of buildings and so on. And also, again, you will get invaluable local knowledge that you may not get elsewhere. And people that put on living history displays have done a huge amount of research already and really have got a lot of that detail right there that you might struggle to find yourself. So if you want to get an idea of what a 19th or 18th century kitchen was like, what it was like to work in certain trades, from many of which were done from home, these are invaluable resources. We'll also be taking a look at the National Farm Survey taken during the Second World War, and newspapers which date generally from the early 1700s up to the present day. I've also mentioning here parish registers, which I'm not going to go to in this detail in this talk, but of course they're an invaluable source for finding out about people. But other parish records I will be touching on. Photographs and postcards, again, are another hugely important resource. And then we'll also be looking at sales particulars and advertisements, taxes and rates, and tithe records. And then we mustn't forget trade directories and gazetteers, and wills, administrations and inventories.
We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. To watch the extended uninterrupted version, go to familyhistory.tv, link in the description. You will also find a host of talks from other experts on a variety of subjects. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified when these videos become available.